Think about the person who hurt you the most, not a stranger. Someone who knew you, someone who had access to the real version of you and used it. Maybe they betrayed you. Maybe they undermined you quietly for months while smiling to your face. Maybe they took something from you that you are still trying to get back, and right now just thinking about them something tightens in your chest, something old and familiar and heavy. And the last thing, the absolute last thing you want to hear right now is that this person did you a favor. But stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is not about forgiving them. It is not about letting them off the hook. It is not about pretending what they did was okay. It is about something far more powerful than any of that. It is about taking everything they put you through and turning it into the most valuable education you have ever received, without them ever knowing they gave it to you. Verf as an Marco, Mendo, you.And, T15. The Stoic Foundation. Visual, classical marble statues, slow pan over old parchment journal pages, candlelight. The Stoics were not soft people. Marcus Aurelius spent decades at war. Seneca was exiled, stripped of everything by an emperor who feared him. Epictetus was a slave. He had no freedom, no rights, no control over a single external circumstance of his life. And yet these three men built a philosophy that has outlasted every empire, every dynasty, every political system that existed in their time. Not by avoiding their enemies, not by pretending the people who hurt them did not exist, but by extracting something from every painful experience that the person who caused it never intended to give. Wisdom, clarity, an understanding of human nature so precise that they became genuinely difficult to hurt again, not because the pain stopped, but because they learned how to use it. And today that is exactly what we are going to do with yours. The first thing your enemy taught you, exactly where your boundaries were. Before they crossed them, you probably did not know where they were either, not clearly. Not with the kind of hard, specific precision that protects you from the next person who tries the same thing. You had a general sense, a vague feeling of what was acceptable and what was not. But it took someone walking directly through your boundaries, ignoring them completely, treating your trust like something they were entitled to for you to understand exactly where the line was. And here is what that knowledge is worth. Every person who comes after this one is going to be measured against what you now know, not what you guessed before. What you know. The person who cannot be betrayed twice in the same way is the person who was betrayed once and paid attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your enemy did not just cross a line, they drew it for you in permanent ink. And the next person who approaches that line is going to meet someone completely different from the person your enemy found. The second thing your enemy taught you, who your real people are. This is the one that arrives quietly, usually a few weeks or months after the betrayal, when the noise has settled slightly, and you start to notice who showed up, who called, who sat with you in it, who did not need to be asked twice, because betrayal has a way of clearing the field. It removes the people who were only there for the easy version of your life, and it reveals with brutal clarity the ones who were actually there for you, not the performance of you, not the successful, comfortable, uncomplicated version of you. You, when you were broken, when you were not sure what came next, when you had nothing particularly useful to offer and they showed up anyway. Seneca wrote, "Omnia aliena sunt tempus tentum nostrum est." Everything outside us is borrowed. Time alone is ours. The people who gave you their time when it cost them something are the only ones worth giving yours to. Your enemy did not just show you who they were. They showed you who everyone else was too. And that clarity, that specific, painful gift of seeing people clearly, is worth every moment of what it cost you. The third thing your enemy taught you. Something true about yourself that comfort never would have. This is the one that takes the most honesty to accept, because it requires you to look at something not in them but in you. When someone betrays us, when someone hurts us at a level that leaves a mark, the instinct is to look entirely outward, at what they did, at who they are, at the specific sequence of events that led to the moment everything broke. And most people stay there, in the outward looking, for a very long time. But the Stoics took a different step. They turned the examination inward, not to assign themselves blame, not to decide that the pain was their fault, but to ask a specific and important question. What did this experience reveal about me that I could not see before? Maybe it revealed that you trusted too quickly. Maybe it revealed that you ignored signs that were there from the beginning because you wanted something to be true more than you were willing to see what actually was. Maybe it revealed a pattern, a way of relating to people that made you vulnerable to exactly this kind of person. And maybe, just maybe, it revealed a strength you did not know you had, a capacity to survive something you were certain would break you, a resilience that was sitting there waiting and only showed itself because something pushed hard enough to call it out. Epictetus said, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are." He was not saying enjoy what hurt you. He was saying stop fighting the reality of what happened long enough to actually learn from it, because the learning is the only thing that makes the pain worth what it cost. The fourth thing your enemy taught you: how to read people more accurately. Before this person, you had a version of how people worked, a general operating assumption about human nature. Maybe it was optimistic. Maybe you believed that people were fundamentally trustworthy, that everyone was doing their best. The goodwill was the default setting, and then this person arrived and showed you a different chapter of the book. Not the whole book, just a chapter you had never read, and now you have read it. Now you know that some people smile and mean it, and some people smile and do not. Now you know the specific signals, the subtle inconsistencies, the moments where what someone says and what someone does do not quite line up, that you walked past before, that you will not walk past again. Marcus Aurelius spent enormous amounts of time studying people, not with suspicion, with curiosity. He wrote about the senators who flattered him, the advisors who appeared loyal, the generals who needed careful watching, not because he was paranoid, because he understood that understanding human nature clearly was one of the most important tools available to him. Your enemy gave you a masterclass in human nature, specific, personal, unforgettable. The kind of education that no book and no lecture and no well-meaning advice could ever have given you as effectively, because it cost you something, and the lessons that cost you something are the ones that stay. The fifth thing your enemy taught you: what you are actually made of. Before the hardest thing that ever happened to you, you did not fully know, not really. You had a sense, a hope, a belief that you would handle it if it came. But belief is not the same as knowledge. And the person who has been through something genuinely difficult, who came out on the other side, still functioning, still building, still here, knows something that cannot be taught any other way. They know what they are made of, not from someone telling them, from evidence, from the lived experience of going through the worst thing they could imagine and discovering that the worst thing they could imagine did not finish them. The sixth thing your enemy taught you: how to forgive, not for them, but for yourself. This is the one that takes the longest, and the one that matters the most. Not because your enemy deserves your forgiveness, they may not. Not because what they did was acceptable, it was not. But because carrying the weight of someone who wronged you is one of the most expensive things a human being can do. It costs you sleep. It costs you presence. It costs you the energy that should be going into building the next chapter, because too much of it is still being spent on the previous one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That sentence is not about being better than them. It is about being free from them, because the person who cannot forgive is still in a relationship with the person who hurt them, still giving them space, still handing them the rent-free real estate inside the mind that should belong to something and someone worth so much more. Forgiveness is not a gift to them, it is an eviction notice. You are not saying what they did was fine. You are saying you no longer have a lease on my peace. You no longer get to live in the space where my energy and my focus and my future are being built. I am taking that back, not for you, for me. So here is the truth the Stoics were pointing to all along. Your enemy is your greatest teacher, not because what they did was good, not because the pain was deserved, not because everything happens for a reason in some cosmic sense that makes it all feel better, but because you are still here. And still here means something. It means you survived the thing you were certain would break you. It means you learned things about your own strength that comfort never could have taught you. It means you now know with a specificity that only comes from experience where your lines are, who your real people are, how people work, what you are made of, and what it costs to carry a grudge, and why it is time to put it down. Not because they deserve the grace, because you deserve the peace. If this landed somewhere, it needed to share it with one person who is still carrying something that happened to them. Subscribe for new Stoic wisdom every single week.